The road to WrestleMania has finally begun. This Sunday, we kick off the road to WrestleMania with the Royal Rumble. And God knows what Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard have in store for all of us on Sunday night. Many people are fearing the absolute worst coming out of Royal Rumble Sunday. WrestleVotes tweeted out something that scared the living bejesus out of everybody, man. They scared legitimately everybody this week on social media, claiming that there is a potential ending to the Royal Rumble that will absolutely be catastrophic, a nightmarish situation. What exactly does that mean? I have no idea, and I know everybody listening to me is exactly like me. You are fearing the worst. You are fearing your nightmares becoming a reality. And our nightmares are Bill Goldberg winning the WWE title in some way, shape, or form, or him not winning the WWE title, entering the Royal Rumble, winning the Royal Rumble, showing up on Friday Night SmackDown, and challenging Roman Reigns for the WWE Universal Championship. That is absolutely an abomination of epic proportions. God help us all. God help our souls if that actually happens. But I'm here to tell you, man to man, content creator to viewer, that I do not think that is going to happen on Sunday night. I know. I'm giving WWE the benefit of the doubt here, folks. What year are we in? Is JD okay? Does he have a fever? Is he ill? Why is he speaking like this? I don't think WWE is going to go ahead and do that. In fact, I'm standing my ground and I'm saying I don't think Bill Goldberg is going to WrestleMania as a champion. In fact, I'm standing my ground on who I think is going to win the Royal Rumble, both men's and women's Royal Rumble. What exactly does that mean? We will talk about that right here on episode 362. Also, why did Edge declare himself in the Royal Rumble when he could have easily been saved as a surprise on Sunday night? In fact, I got a better question for Bruce and for Vince McMahon. Why didn't you advertise Adam Copeland, Edge, to be on Monday Night Raw to declare himself into the 2021 Royal Rumble? What type of booking decision was that? I don't really understand it. And I got news on Royal Rumble and why the card looks so thin. What's going on, Bruce? No plans? Are you taking the fans for granted once again because it's the Royal Rumble, the yearly January tradition? We're going to go over why WWE has no full card for the Royal Rumble. Guys, it's going to be a loaded show. Don't go anywhere. This is episode 362 on Off the Scripts.
Delete this man. People still
What is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining me right here on Off the Scripts. This is episode 362 for your Saturday, January 30th, 2021. It is Royal Rumble weekend, folks. And no matter what Bruce Pritchard does to us on a weekly basis, no matter what Vince McMahon does to us on a weekly basis, I am always excited for the Royal Rumble, man. Hearing the buzzer go off, counting down from 10, who's going to emerge from the curtain? I love its unpredictability. And I think the one thing that WWE has going for it this year is that unpredictability, man. It's going to be exciting nonetheless. Whether or not it's good remains to be seen. But WWE had a very good showing at the Royal Rumble last year. We have to see what they do this year, as no fans will be in attendance again for a WWE pay-per-view. So we'll see what happens with that. But I'm going to try my best. I'm going to try my best to give you guys a not so much of a preview, because there really isn't anything to preview. This legitimately is WWE's clean slate going into 2021. Everything that is going to happen for the rest of the year starts on Sunday night, January 31st. It wasn't the first Raw of the year. It wasn't the first SmackDown of the year. It wasn't anything that you've seen on television thus far in 2021. This is the start of the entire year. There's nothing else that happened. There's no storylines, nothing. Nothing. Everything is born out of this match. Whatever we got at the Royal Rumble doesn't even matter. It's what comes out of the Royal Rumble that is going to be the most talked about. So I'm going to try my best to give you guys an idea of where WWE is going to go going into WrestleMania. I also got news on Edge, why WWE announced Edge for the men's Royal Rumble match, and why. And this legitimately pissed me off. It really did. And I hope nobody watches tonight on FS1. WWE is announcing key spots in the Royal Rumble match early. They're giving away the coveted number 30, and they're giving the number 1 and number 2 positions away in the Royal Rumble. That's for both men and women. I don't really understand the logic behind that, but we're going to try and uncover why WWE made such a foolish decision on a show that is based on unpredictability. They don't know how to further ruin what is not broken. Typical Bruce Pritchard for you. WWE still working on a Royal Rumble card that is an exclusive, folks, from my good friends over at Ringside News. We also got news on what is going on with Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt. Where are they going into the Royal Rumble? There were rumors about them having a match at the Royal Rumble, a cinematic match of sorts, and that clearly was put on the back burner for now. So I wonder what they got planned, and if whatever they had planned is now going to happen inside the Royal Rumble. Maybe Bray Wyatt will burn the ring down so that we don't get a Royal Rumble winner. And then Goldberg can lobby in February why he deserves a shot at Roman Reigns. I don't know. WWE having a hard time, or WWE staff, I should say, having a hard time getting through to Vince McMahon. No shit. This is an every week thing. I wonder why, Bruce. Huh? Clown. Bruce is the reason why people can't get through to Vince McMahon. It's like a fucking bodyguard without the form and the shape. It's a fucking slob. Bruce Pritchard. And WWE seriously considering something nightmarish and ending that WrestleVotes reported from an anonymous source, with the anonymous source stating, and I quote, a finish that is being considered that scares the death out of me. I don't know what that means. Could mean a variety of things. It really could. So we're going to talk about that and who I think will win the 2021 men's and women's Royal Rumble. We got a lot to go over. So thank you guys so very much for joining me here on the show. That is the rundown of what JD is going to give you right here on Off the Script. Follow me on social media at JD from NY 206. That's on Twitter and Instagram. If you guys want to go on TikTok, if you guys are TikTokers, right, doing all the trendy and mainstream shit on TikTok to shitty music, I will be doing no such thing. But I now have a TikTok. You guys can find that down in the description below. JD from NY on TikTok. I am late to the party. I'm a late bloomer. So more than likely, clips of the podcast will be going up there to grace your afternoons and evenings with. So there you go. Go follow me all over social media. I got Twitter, I got Instagram, I got TikTok, I got Twitch. You name it, man. I'm all over the place. If I'm not all over the place, I'm not doing my job. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on that bell for all notifications. Make sure you guys do hit that subscribe button, man. I really don't know. This is why I consider the wrestling community a bunch of geeks, man. I don't know who you're listening to. Like, really, who are you listening to that does this in this realm better than me? I might not be an active performer. I might not be an ex-pro wrestler. I might not be an ex-creative writer. But motherfucker, you are dealing with one of the best minds that is not in that camp. So why wouldn't you listen to somebody like me? I got the attitude. I got the visceral fucking approach, right? I got the logic. I got the common sense. Nobody likes Bruce Pritchard, right? So why aren't you hitting the subscribe button? Give me a break, man. Do the right thing. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell. Make sure the notifications are turned on as well. I will be live. I will be live. Are we live, man? Yeah, we're live. Sunday night, January 31st at, I would like to say, 10:30-ish when the Royal Rumble goes off the air. Live stream post-show on YouTube for Off the Script. I am expecting 3,000 plus live on the live stream. I want you guys to be a part of that and celebrate the Royal Rumble with me for good or bad. No matter what it is, we will celebrate the Royal Rumble on Sunday night. So join me live on YouTube, and you guys can follow me on social media for all of the links and what's happening there with the live stream. If you want to support, Patreon's the best way to do that. Patreon.com/JD from NY206. Thank you to everybody that has shown support via the Patreon page. Great way to support what I do here and make sure that the podcast is thriving in the years to come. Make sure you guys go and get your masks. Mouthmasker.com/OTS. Bonfire.com. Go and get your t-shirts, the exclusive home of JD from New York and Off the Script. Bonfire.com. Go check out all the other videos that you might have missed. All the playlists, everything you need is linked down below in the description. You missed the Monday Night Raw review? Playlist is down below. You missed SmackDown? Playlist is down below. You missed AEW? Playlist is down below. Easy for you to go and find all of the content that you might have missed. And today's show is sponsored by the one and the only Dr. Squatch. DrSquatch.com. You're going to use code SCRIPT at checkout for 20% off, man. Believe me, it is absolutely worth it. I don't want you guys bathing in chemicals and soaps that are completely unnatural, man. I want you guys to bathe in all organic, all right material and ingredients. Come on. You guys got to go and do it, man. DrSquatch.com. Use code SCRIPT at checkout. And yes, I'm bathing. This is not how I actually bathe, but I got to shill Dr. Squatch, man. DrSquatch.com. They got soaps, they got shampoos, they got conditioners, they got cologne, they got deodorant, they got toothpaste. It's all organic. Go and check it out. Code SCRIPT at checkout and tell them that JD sent you to go get their cold brew cleanse. It's my favorite. I don't think they have anything that I've liked as much as the cold brew cleanse, man. Like I said, I don't know whether I want to bathe in it or drink it or eat it. It's delicious. It's delicious for my skin, but not my taste palate. I'll just go to Dunkin' for that. Anyway, enough of me shilling my products, man. Let's get into the heart of the matter here, okay? I'm in some mood. Let me take a sip of my cold beverage, man. We'll be here for a while, I think. I gotta have my cold beverages on standby because I usually sit here for about 2.5 hours, man. And if anybody tells you that podcasting is easy, they are probably a mind-numbingly dumb individual. Seriously. And so is Bruce Pritchard. WWE announced Edge for the Royal Rumble match. You're probably asking yourself, JD, what's the problem in that? There is no problem in that. In fact, I'm glad he's back. I'm glad he is back. It's going to be great hearing Alter Bridge on the PA system. Now, I'm going to go out there and immediately go into attack mode here, folks. I'm glad that they announced Edge for the Royal Rumble. There is absolutely, and if you're thinking, well, why didn't they save him as a surprise on Sunday night? Let me tell you something. Folks, there are no fans in attendance. Who are you actually surprising? And to further that point, how could you possibly top what they did with his return last year in front of 45,000 people? I mean, it was one of the greatest Royal Rumble moments that will ever exist. And if you try and duplicate that by taking the same steps, because he was out for 9 years compared to this current run where he was out for most of 2020, and bring him back as a surprise, it's never going to measure up to what happened in 2020 when he came back in the Royal Rumble. So I don't really understand why people are giving WWE a hard time for them announcing him and not saving him as a surprise. We all knew he was on the roster. We all knew he was affiliated with the Raw brand. We knew he was set to come back, more than likely at the Royal Rumble. There's no fans there. And even if there were fans in attendance, even if WWE had 40,000 people at whatever baseball stadium they were going to be emanating from, I still would have went the route that they went this year and announced he was going to be there. Because they're never going to duplicate what they did last year. The problem that I have, and this goes to show you that most of the community are a bunch of blithering idiots, and I mean that with every fiber of my soul. There were people on social media claiming, well, you gotta build intrigue for the show and you gotta keep people watching the show, man. So I think WWE saving Edge as far as the announcement goes and not saying anything about it being on Raw was a great idea. I don't know whether you are lacking intelligence or you might have sniffed something that I don't know of, or you might have been eating paint chips or something. Maybe you got inebriated before Raw hit the airwaves on USA Network. Something ain't right there if that is your valid opinion. I don't even consider that an opinion. I take that as fucking stupidity. WWE announced Edge within the second hour of the show. I didn't see any social media posting. I went to Edge's page. I didn't hear him with anything about being on the show. Not a fucking peep. WWE didn't announce anything unless I missed it. I mean, I don't know who the fuck is looking out for WWE tweets before Monday Night Raw, but certainly ain't me. WWE had, I was going to say Michael Cole. They all sound the fucking same anyway. Tom Phillips announced that Edge was going to be on the show at the start of the second hour. And then he came on, I believe, towards the end of the second hour, going into the third hour, to declare himself, because everybody fucking declared themselves, in the Royal Rumble. So why would you wait on Edge and not announce him to, I would say, declare himself in the Royal Rumble? Why wouldn't you promote that ahead of time? Did WWE not know he was going to be on the show? They had to know going into the show in the afternoon, in the early hours of the morning. I'm sure these fucking people knew before SmackDown aired. Why didn't we get an advertisement that he was going to be on Raw on Friday night? Why didn't we get a fucking tweet on Saturday or Sunday? Why do we have to get it in the middle of the fucking show on Monday Night Raw? And then people are like, well, you got to build up the impression that anything can happen in WWE. Anything could happen on Monday Night Raw. What are you talking about? Monday Night Raw doesn't even eclipse a 1.9 anymore. Never mind a 1.9. I'm giving them extra ratings that they don't deserve. They don't even eclipse a 1.8. And then when you start the show at 8 o'clock, you probably start off at that 1.8, right? And then when you go into the second hour, it dips to a 1.5 or 1.6, 1.5 in the third hour. So what exactly are you doing? You don't follow the fucking trends? When Raw starts, it usually gets the rating that it ends up with. And then in hour 2 and then hour 3, you see a steep decline. Because everybody knows the show gets worse the longer it goes on. So you're going to put Edge in the middle of that, and you're going to keep it away from people who are actually excited to see this guy return. It is a dumb fucking move. You got to promote the motherfucker. You want people to watch the show? Nobody's watching the fucking show now. Promote him that he's back. Don't keep him as a surprise. What a dumb fucking decision. Reason why WWE announced Edge for the Men's Royal Rumble match. So this was in the news this week. Fightful is reporting that they were told if there was an actual crowd at the show, there's a good chance the announcement would have been held off and it would have been a surprise. Thus, the decision was made that Edge's return was best served as being announced ahead of the show to create buzz for the show and help attract lapsed fans familiar with Edge. Fine. That's not the problem. The problem is WWE didn't announce him on being at Raw. But I absolutely agree with announcing him. And I don't really necessarily agree with WWE saying, well, if there were fans, you're not going to recreate what's going on. It's like a cover band trying to, it would be like Metallica. It would be like Metallica taking fucking Ride the Lightning and covering the fucking thing now. Or taking Battery and covering it now. You're going to hear James Hetfield at his fucking peak in 1986 when the fucking thing came out? Or you're going to hear James Hetfield, yeah! Or whatever the fuck his cowboy vocals sound like now. Sounds like a fucking hick. Give me a break, man. It's not the same. You're never going to be able to duplicate that. So WWE made the right decision, and I would have went with this decision, fans or no fans. The fact that he wasn't announced on Raw. Bruce! The simplest of things you can't even get right. Why do you even have a job? Oh, that's right. That's right. Vince McMahon loves the, you know. You know. WWE. It's not the only thing that they fucked up on. WWE is announcing key positions in the Royal Rumble early. Why do you look at the Royal Rumble as being your favorite show? The unpredictability. The, oh my God, he's coming out, right? Buzzer goes off. It's who? Who is it? Who's going to come out at number 1? Is that person going to last 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes? Last the entire way, be in the final 4? Who's going to come out at number 30? Does he or she have the best spot in the Royal Rumble? Best chance to win the Royal Rumble coming in number 30. And then you look at number 30 and then you look at who's left in the ring. All of these things run through somebody's head watching the Royal Rumble. WWE announced that Backstage is coming back for one night only. They'll probably do the same thing for WrestleMania and SummerSlam and all these major shows because that's all this show is worth. Nobody watched it anyway. WWE is bringing back WWE Backstage on FS1 Saturday night. And on the show, they are giving away the coveted number 30 spot. And they're giving away the number 1 and number 2 entries in both the men's and women's Royal Rumble matches. So this, they are doing, and according to Fightful, the reason why WWE is going this direction comes from a very common reason. Ratings. WWE and Fox want to do good viewership numbers, and they want to maximize the partnership and deals they already have in place. I'm not surprised by that whatsoever. But the thing is, WWE and Fox, they're trying very hard to get people interested in this show. And in fact, how many people actually are like me and will not watch Backstage and will not tune in to what's going on Backstage because we all, the majority of the people, love surprises. We love the Royal Rumble unpredictability. This is something that could absolutely backfire for WWE and FS1 if fans have a say here, which you do. And I'm urging everybody, don't watch the fucking show tonight. I'm saying right now to you, do not watch that show tonight. Put your foot down and don't watch this garbage. In no Rumble ever should you give away the number 1, number 2, and better yet, the number 30 position. They're doing it for ratings. We all knew that. But you're ruining the intrigue of the Royal Rumble. I don't give a fuck about anybody in between. I don't really give a shit. It's who comes out at number 30 and who comes out to start the fucking thing that matters most. Right? Yeah, they're doing it for ratings. I get it. But I don't want to hear WWE doing this. Oh, well, there's no fans in attendance anyway. There's not going to be any reaction. So what's the difference? Whoever comes out at number 1, number 2, number 30, they're not going to get the reaction that you're expecting anyway. All it does is further prove that WWE is in charge and is in control of everything. They control the narrative. But that doesn't mean I want to see who comes out at number 30. Oh, well, JD, they're doing it because there's no fans there. Fuck the fans. When has WWE ever given a shit about the goddamn fans? There were fans in 2014 when the number 30 buzzer went off. WWE had every fucking right to do Bryan in that moment for the fans and elevate him to where he needed to be. What did they do? They said, fuck the fans. And what did they do at number 30? They put out Rey Mysterio, and he got booed out of the fucking building. Now, but WWE cares about the fans now all of a sudden. Well, there's no fans there. WWE thinks that, there's no reaction to anybody coming out at number 30, so why do we need to do this? We have some leeway. We have some cheats this year. When has WWE ever given a fuck about the fans? Really? Now WWE cares about the fans, so that's why they're giving away number 30, number 1, number 2. Might as well give away the whole fucking field. The fuck do I care? What a dumb fucking move. For backstage ratings? For a show that is a one-off now? And don't give me the bullshit that WWE needs to do this for backstage. They need to get ratings up. You didn't watch backstage when it was on weekly. Regardless. Backstage. Give me a fucking break, man. Do not ever ruin the appeal and the unpredictability of the Royal Rumble in WWE, and Bruce and Vince seemingly have done that by WWE backstage. Unreal. What a dumb fucking decision. WWE is still working on a final Royal Rumble card for Sunday. This is an exclusive from Ringside News. Now, I was watching Raw on Monday, and Charlotte just nonchalantly just threw it out there. Yeah, Asuka and I will be defending the women's tag team titles on Sunday night. Also, I will be in the Royal Rumble. I don't know if you guys watch WWE Backstage, or not WWE Backstage. Don't watch WWE Backstage. I don't know if you guys watched the bump from this past week. Charlotte Flair was on. I mean, she's just absolutely nauseating to listen to. And they were doing a Rumble drawing, right? I don't know what the fuck they were doing the drawing for. But one of the fucking geek announcers on WWE The Bump, they had the gold tumbler. I don't know why I was watching this, but I was intrigued. I was on Twitch the day that it was happening, and I'm like, let me see what's going on here, man. You got my attention with the gold tumbler. Where's the gold tumbler on TV? Why do those geeks get to use the gold tumbler? I don't really understand it. But this geek, I don't even know his name, pulled out 3 balls. And in the balls, we got number 3, number 7, and number 24, I believe, was the number. I have no idea what this drawing was for, but in the end, I think I've come to a conclusion that WWE is teasing what number Charlotte Flair has drawn for the Royal Rumble. I don't understand the logic behind these decisions. Like, why are you doing that there? And why is she drawing 3 numbers for dumb, idiotic fans to sit and watch this garbage with each other and fucking mark out like a bunch of fucking geeks, right? I don't really understand this shit. Why are you giving any number away? If you're doing that for Charlotte Flair, why aren't you doing that as its own live special? Again, this is shit that should not be going into the Royal Rumble. If you did it for one, you should do it for everybody. Giving away prime positions. They don't even have a fucking final card for this shit. Thanks for telling us that the women's tag team titles were going to be defended, not like you give a fuck anyway. I know I don't. But thanks for telling me who their fucking opponents were. They didn't have any idea who their opponents were going to be. Charlotte and Asuka on Monday night. Then it was recently revealed, it's going to be Shayna and Nia. Great. Another match I'm going to use as a bathroom break on top of the Bugs Bunny fucking concert that he's got there. Whatever. Booker T. Bad Bunny. You fucking break, man. Why don't you get some real fucking musicians on the goddamn show? Anyway, WWE is still working on a final card for Sunday's Royal Rumble. Ringside News has been told that the final card is not decided yet. Now, this could see them obviously add matches, a match or two to the event to round things out. They've exclusively reported that the company has decided already, which is shocking, I know. Somebody came to a fucking sound decision in this place. They've decided who will win the Rumble matches themselves. And we'll go over that report in just a second. Now, WWE seemingly has Riddle and Lashley available for the pay-per-view. Riddle won a number one contender gauntlet match on Raw to get a United States title shot. When that happens, I don't know. The company has not booked the match for the Royal Rumble, as to my knowledge, as of this point. WWE also had plans for Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt in this gimmick match of sorts at the Royal Rumble. That has not been announced, and if something like that has not been announced, I'm assuming that it's not going to happen, and either both will be in the Royal Rumble or Orton will be in the Royal Rumble and Bray will make his appearance known in the Rumble to eliminate Orton. Something along those lines. But look at who they've announced for the men's Royal Rumble and the women's Royal Rumble. They've announced nobody. Nobody. Daniel Bryan, Bobby Lashley, AJ Styles, Randy Orton, Otis, The Miz, Jey Uso. Will we see Jimmy? I don't know. But Jey Uso's in there. Cesaro, Jeff Hardy, Edge, John Morrison, Sheamus, and Mustafa Ali. Those are the names that they have officially announced for the Royal Rumble. That makes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. They need 17 more entrants in the Royal Rumble. Who that will be, I have no idea. But I'm assuming all these names here, these are the guys that potentially could win the Royal Rumble. And out of these names, the only ones that I see legitimately winning the Royal Rumble are Daniel Bryan and Edge. And don't give me AJ Styles. AJ Styles is not winning the Royal Rumble. If you watch the weekly program consistently, you would know that AJ Styles is in the middle of nothing. And that he's already wrestled Drew McIntyre at TLC, and he's not going to SmackDown to challenge Roman Reigns. So he has no business being in the WrestleMania main event. Edge and Daniel Bryan, that is it. 2. And then with the remaining 17, there's not going to be anybody in that remaining 17 that's going to win it. Now, going back just to what I reported earlier, number 1 and 2 in the Royal Rumbles and number 30. Now, I don't give a fuck who number 30 is in the Women's Royal Rumble. I am predicting right now it would be foolish of them not to do this because it's just so great as far as the storyline goes. There is a competition between Bayley and Bianca. This has now transcended past some geek-like competition on SmackDown, some triathlon or whatever the fuck they were doing. Jumping hurdles and climbing walls and slamming basketballs and hoops. Now it's a wrestling competition. Bianca had that documentary that I have not watched yet. And Bayley is awesome. Bayley comes out at number 1 and Bianca comes out at number 2. They last all the way till the end, and they both are co-Iron Women in the Royal Rumble. And the Royal Rumble comes down to Bayley and Bianca. Bayley, it's the best thing you could possibly do for her now that she's not really doing much of anything as far as the SmackDown Women's title goes. Bianca more than likely will go over. I'm going with Bianca. Realistically, I would go with Bayley, but I am going to be a realist with you guys. Bianca's winning the Royal Rumble. If that documentary reception is anything to go by, Bianca Belair is winning the Royal Rumble, and she's getting Sasha Banks at WrestleMania, and damn, is that going to be a fucking match that everyone is going to be excited for. We may get the crowning of a new queen in WWE, and her name is Bianca Belair. Who comes out at number 30? It is a null and void situation for the women. Nobody gives a fuck. It's Bianca and Bayley. Beth Phoenix could be in the Women's Royal Rumble. We don't know about that. There might be several legends in the Women's Royal Rumble. Rhea Ripley's also a dark horse, but I do think that she will have a good showing. Rhea Ripley will probably be the one woman with the most eliminations in the Royal Rumble. I would also say Bianca, she had, 8 or 9 last year? Probably do the same thing this year. They may make a competition out of that aspect alone between Bayley and Bianca. But Rhea Ripley's also a dark horse as well, depending on what Charlotte Flair does from now going into WrestleMania. As far as the men go, I don't know where Daniel Bryan ends up. I don't know where Edge ends up. I don't know where these guys end up in the grand scheme of things as far as entrant goes. But as far as number 30 goes, number 1 and 2 are wide open. Number 30, and this is merely a prediction. Who knows what we'll see for backstage tonight? I'm not watching. I don't care. I want to be surprised on Sunday night. I'm going to go and say Seth Rollins. I'm going to go out there and say a returning Seth Rollins is going to be announced at number 30 in the Royal Rumble. And the reason why I say Seth Rollins is because A, he's a big name. B, he's all over social media with the birth of their new child, him and Becky Lynch, right? So obviously he may give an update on that, how Becky's doing, and kind of tease Becky's return. Yeah, she's back in training. She's getting ready, yada, yada, yada. So it'll be a good talking point there. But one of the biggest reasons why I think Seth Rollins is going to be announced as number 30 in the Royal Rumble, a lot of people are either predicting Daniel Bryan, Edge, Goldberg. Everybody's predicting these out of fucking, thin air situations for the Royal Rumble. Some are realistic. Some are just absolutely nightmarish. Nobody knows what the fuck's going on. If WWE throws Seth Rollins in at number 30, it gives the perception that, Seth Rollins could win on top of a Bryan, on top of a Bobby Lashley, on top of a Randy Orton, on top of an Edge, right? If Seth Rollins comes out at number 30, WWE has a nice wrench thrown into the gears because a lot of people correlate Seth Rollins with Roman Reigns, and that would be another idea planted in the fans' mind. Well, they could go with Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns and do that match for WrestleMania. Nobody was talking about that because he went out to go be with Becky, but they could certainly build up the unpredictability with that, and we all know number 30 never wins the Royal Rumble. We all know Seth Rollins is not going to WrestleMania to challenge Roman Reigns for the Universal title. It'll be something just to throw out there to add on top of the unpredictability. So I think that is where they're going with that. But as far as the Women's Royal Rumble match goes, the only women that were announced, Nia Jax, Charlotte, Bianca, Bayley, Mandy Rose, Alexa Bliss, Shayna Baszler, Tamina, Ruby Riott, and Liv Morgan. So they got a lot of fill in the blank left for the Women's Royal Rumble. We could see Eva Marie return. We could see a bunch of NXT talent maybe make their presence known in the Royal Rumble. I don't know what else WWE has planned for the women, but all I know at the end of the day, it's going to come down to Rhea, Bayley, Bianca. Charlotte's always in discussion. God, I hope not. Ronda's always a possibility. I don't think Ronda's showing up in the Royal Rumble because if she shows up, more than likely she'll end up winning it, and I don't want to see that. Charlotte always is a possibility to win it. Becky is not going to be in there. Becky, it's too soon for Becky to come back and really do anything as far as wrestling is concerned. So WWE has a lot of work still left to do for the Women's Royal Rumble. As far as entrance, surprise entrance, There really isn't anybody on the women's side that I care about. Is WWE going to call up Trish Stratus? WWE going to call up Lita? I mean, this is just same old shit. I mean, it's great to see them, but whatever, man. You ain't doing anything that's shocking me. It's going to get a pop out of the social media fucking geeks for about 3 seconds, and then they get eliminated, and they just use them and abuse them and dump them. As far as the men go, I don't really know as far as surprises go. You know, we could see Booker T in the Royal Rumble. You got Bad Bunny, Bugs Bunny over there doing his fucking live performance. We could absolutely see Booker T in the Royal Rumble. I would assume so, being that the song is dedicated to the motherfucker. So he could be one of the legends in there. What about Rob Van Dam? And I throw that out there because WWE loves surprises. WWE loves bringing in names of the past. And this particular name of the past, where he ends up, I don't know. Does he sign a full-fledged deal with the WWE? I hope not. RVD's not the same. Hopefully he doesn't bring his fucking girlfriend/hooker with him, you know? God forbid, that would never be allowed on WWE TV. But RVD's a free agent. RVD could show up. What about Carlito? Carlito's name is always thrown into discussion about coming back to the WWE. Is this the year that WWE gives Carlito something that he is actually interested in? Maybe a return to SmackDown. I don't know. What about Lars Sullivan? We haven't seen Lars Sullivan since he cut that sit-down promo with Michael Cole about being bullied in the schoolyard. Then they took him off TV. Are we going to see NXT talent? Keith Lee's not even on this list of names that I just read through. The list of names here. Keith Lee's not on this list of names. Why? Where's Matt Riddle? They could both be in the Royal Rumble, Riddle and Lashley, if they have a match. Where's Keith Lee? Where's Ricochet? You gave these guys qualifying matches to do what? To leave the field of fucking 17 vacant? Who are you going to get to fill in that's better than a Matt Riddle or a Keith Lee or a Ricochet? I mean, I don't really understand the logic behind that. It just makes the overall decision to do those fucking qualifying matches absolutely fucking stupid. RVD, Carlito. Who else? Lars Sullivan. Some NXT talents. We could see some of Retribution. We could see Dijakovic in there. Teabag. We don't know who the fuck WWE is going to put in this thing. Could legitimately be anybody. Kane. I do think, though, and I'm making this very well known to everybody, stop with the Jay Lethal. He's not showing up in the Royal Rumble either. Jay White. Stop with the Jay White rumor and innuendo. He's not showing up. Jay White is not showing up in the Royal Rumble. Neither is CM Punk. You're an idiot. CM Punk didn't go into quarantine because he is coming back at the Royal Rumble and he's giving himself enough time to sit at home and quarantine himself. He's not showing up. He's not. Who else was there? Brock Lesnar's another one. I don't think Brock Lesnar's showing up in the Royal Rumble. I don't think Brock Lesnar wants anything to do with the WWE title anymore. He's been there, done that. How many times can you use him to dominate the field and keep the title hostage, only to have him lose to the next big superstar that you're about to put over? Rinse and repeat. It doesn't work that way. It's been done. The rest of the card. What do we got? Reigns versus Owens. We all know Roman Reigns is not losing that Universal title. Should be a great match. I don't know how this is going to keep Jey Uso out of the playing field. So we'll see what happens there. Drew McIntyre versus Goldberg. WWE title. That's a toss-up. I'll talk about that in a second. WWE Women's Tag Team titles. Asuka and Charlotte defend against Nia and Shayna. Now, I don't see the point in Asuka and Charlotte holding on to the Women's Tag Team titles anymore. What exactly are they doing with those titles? Have they made the division better? Have you made those titles more important with Charlotte Flair holding them? No. As always, you put gold around her waist and the title actually becomes worse. I don't know why we're going back to Nia and Shayna. I don't know why you didn't give Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott the opportunity to take those titles off of Asuka and Charlotte Flair. Why are we going back to the team that they already beat for those titles? They're not even a real team. Shayna Baszler does not belong in a tag team. What you should be doing is looking back at the last year and looking at how you ruined Shayna Baszler. Where's the leather jacket? Where's the woman that came out and bit Becky Lynch's neck, not giving a fuck? Where's the Shayna Baszler that talked all this trash and backed it up in the ring? She might not be your cup of tea, but Shayna Baszler knows what the fuck she's doing. Shayna Baszler knows how to tell a good story. Shayna Baszler knows how to cut a promo. Shayna Baszler is cut from the old school cloth. She's not for everybody. She's not flashy. She doesn't dive. She doesn't tope. She doesn't jump off the top rope. She attacks old school style. Some people appreciate that. Some people don't. I get it. But you're not going to put her with Nia Jax and call it a day here. Shayna Baszler should be on her own. Some rehabilitation needs to be done with Shayna Baszler. Compare her to her NXT self. Two completely different people. You should be ashamed that this is what Shayna Baszler has done all year. Teaming her with Nia Jax, one of the worst wrestlers in the entire world. Shayna Baszler deserves better than that. And I don't know what happens here. I don't know if they lose the tag team titles and Charlotte goes and focuses on the Raw Women's title. I don't know. I just can't see WWE having WrestleMania without Charlotte competing for the major singles title in the women's division. Her going into WrestleMania holding worthless women's tag team titles? Give me a break, folks. They either lose this, drop them to Nia and Shayna, or keep them, and WWE gives Charlotte not only the women's tag team titles, but the Raw Women's title as well. And something happens there, and she gets both titles, and Asuka is without the Raw Women's Championship. I don't know. Or WWE could have the Women's Elimination Chamber in February end up being somebody like a Rhea. Charlotte ends up winning the title before WrestleMania. She's the Raw Women's Champion. Rhea wins the Elimination Chamber. We're looking back at last year's match, which was very good, don't get me wrong. And Rhea this year gets her opportunity to get that title back. Well, not the title, but a title back and beat Charlotte, get her win back this year. That's another possibility. I don't know. I don't really know. So WWE is looking a little light on the Royal Rumble, which is not necessarily a bad thing because the quicker they get done, the quicker I get done. So I'm not really complaining too much. I just find it quite laughable that they legitimately have nothing planned, no names. They are keeping things mostly secret. Who's in it, what number, blah, blah, blah. But I hope they know what they're doing. I hope they know what they have planned. And I hope it ends up being a good show. We deserve a good show. And God knows WWE needs a good show. What's going on with Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt? Many assume that Randy Orton and The Fiend would have a match at the Royal Rumble. That's obviously not going to happen because it would have already been announced. Wyatt hasn't been on television since been burned or burnt to a crisp. And that happened at TLC on December 20th. During his absence, Alexa Bliss has continued the feud through several, I guess, magic-like moments, many, Harry Potter moments here, fireballs and magic acts, turning from goddess Alexa Bliss into playful funhouse Alexa Bliss to demon Alexa Bliss, undergoing many a personality change here. The big one was the fireball to Randy Orton's eyeballs. So Randy Orton declared himself in the Royal Rumble. And like I said, there was a report that before that was announced, WWE was going to have a match between The Fiend and Randy Orton at the Royal Rumble. Then the announcement came that Randy Orton was going to be in the Royal Rumble. And then there were additional reports saying that WWE used that announcement as a red herring and they were going to book the match with Wyatt anyway. But we didn't get it. Now it's Saturday and we haven't heard anything. So I'm assuming that Orton is going to be in the Royal Rumble. Whether he wears the mask or shows off his burnt face remains to be seen. Randy Orton's in the Royal Rumble. So I'm assuming The Fiend is not too far behind. Randy Orton is not winning the Royal Rumble. Randy Orton will not be competing for a WWE or a Universal title match at WrestleMania. More than likely, The Fiend will be in attendance, not in the Royal Rumble, but he will force Randy Orton to be eliminated in said Royal Rumble match. Now, Dave Meltzer of Wrestling Observer Live said initially that WWE had a gimmick match planned between Orton and The Fiend. Now, apparently this match was a part of the Royal Rumble show, and this was the plans as of 2 weeks ago. WWE did not announce such match on any episode of Raw, and now we are going into the weekend and nothing has been announced. It's hard to envision them making a last-minute decision at this stage of the game. So it appears that WWE is set with their Orton and Fiend plans for the Rumble. If not the Rumble, we could see WWE do something at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view between Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt. I don't know. We'll have to see how things play out. I'm not really sure if that is what's in the cards. They got plenty of time, but I don't really know where they're going with any of this. I really don't. It's not entertaining. In fact, it's something that really doesn't make sense. Now, the reason why I say it doesn't make sense, and hear me out on this, I don't know if I'm the only one that thinks this or not, but Randy Orton has been back and forth with Alexa Bliss for weeks. You know, teasing, lighting her on fire. Alexa Bliss retaliates by throwing a fireball in his eyes. Randy Orton cuts a scathing promo wearing bandages around his face. He shows up in the main event when Alexa's getting a Raw Women's title match against Asuka, causes a no contest, RKO's Alexa Bliss into oblivion. Where was Bray Wyatt? Bray Wyatt's weakness, we were told, was Alexa Bliss, a woman. But Bray Wyatt was nowhere to be found. Now, they may be saving him for the Royal Rumble. But you're going to let 7 days go by with this guy putting his hands on your woman? And you're going to let Randy Orton get away scot-free for 6 days before you make an appearance? Now, maybe I'm overlooking it. Maybe I'm digging too deep into this and being overly analytical for absolutely no reason. But where was Bray Wyatt? Things have been done on Raw that should have signaled Bray Wyatt coming out by now. And what happens when he comes out? When he makes his appearance known and his presence known? What's going to happen then? Bray Wyatt's certainly going to get his revenge. He's going to get that victory over Randy Orton. And what does he do going into WrestleMania? What do we have going into WrestleMania? I have no idea. I'm trying to think what could happen with Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton at WrestleMania. I think I got Orton figured out. I really do. But Bray Wyatt is a story that I just can't put my finger on. I don't know what they do. And I read rumors weeks ago that WWE could be booking Edge against Bray Wyatt. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily true or not. Only time will tell. I've even heard reports that WWE could be doing Beth Phoenix and Edge teaming up against Bray Wyatt and Alexa Bliss to give Alexa something to do at WrestleMania. None of that sounds interesting or intriguing whatsoever. I don't know how you would even... I don't even know how you would mold that into making sense. Why would Bray go after Edge? Because he's going after Edge because Randy Orton couldn't get the job done? So he's going to finish it off by himself and prove that he's a greater being than Randy Orton? I have no idea. So where does that leave Orton and Edge? Where does that leave Orton and Edge? And who wins if you put Edge in the ring with Bray Wyatt? None of this makes any sense whatsoever. I'm just at a loss of words how WWE has absolutely no vision or long-term planning whatsoever. So we get a match between Orton and Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt gets his victory back. Where do these guys go? Where do each of them go? Randy Orton, I would assume, goes on to Goldberg. Maybe they still do Edge and Orton. But Orton ain't looking good. He's not looking good. Lost the WWE title, got stuck in this feud with Bray Wyatt. He looked good for a little bit. Then he got burned. Then he's going to lose to Bray. What happens when he gets in the ring with Edge? Is he going to lose then? Randy Orton ain't looking like a guy WWE has any plans for. Loss. I don't really know what WWE has left for these guys. Absolutely nothing is sticking out as, man, I want to see that. It's a very difficult situation for WWE. I hope they can pull something out. Now, WWE staff is having a difficult time getting through to Vince McMahon. And this is not a secret to anybody. Ringside News has asked around about this problem. Why can't performers, writers, management, why can't WWE staff get through to Vince McMahon? They've asked around this problem, and this is a problem that has existed in creative for quite some time. We were told, says Ringside News, by a tenured member of the creative team that the current flow of information is the quote-unquote worst in the company's history. And I mean that. End quote. Bruce Pritchard has become an ultimate gatekeeper for Vince McMahon. He blocks out any opinions he doesn't want to deal with. So what that means, let me break that down for you. Bruce blocks out any opinions that, A, are better than his takes or views or ideas. So he blocks out anything that's better than what he came up with. And he blocks out anybody or anything that he doesn't like for someone that he just has no explanation as to why he doesn't like. So he uses it, A, as a ego thing, and he uses it as a political thing. Oh, this is not what we need for WWE. We need this person on TV and not this person. Oh, that idea is no good. But deep down, he's thinking in the back of his mind, man, that's a better idea than me. I got to show my ideas to Vince because if I don't, then my job is in jeopardy. Then Vince isn't going to look at me as the right-hand ball tickler to the McMahons. Give me a break. He blocks out any opinions he doesn't want to deal with. How many fucking times do I tell you that Bruce Pritchard is a fucking cancer to this writing team, to this company creatively? Nobody believes me. Nobody believes me. I've said it for months now. And I'm going to continue to say it until that man is removed. Why do we need somebody that operates like Vince McMahon that isn't Vince McMahon? So we got double the dose of Vince McMahon when one Vince McMahon is fucking all we need. Or don't need for that matter. Now we got two of them. Bruce uses this to abuse his power and keep his position in the company. Without this job, he's nothing more than a stereotypical podcast host in which his partner has more personality than he does. Conrad's the man in that fucking duo, not Bruce. Give me a break. Bruce Pritchard is an absolute fucking cancer to the creative process in WWE. Without Bruce, I don't even know if things would be better, but they would be better. Because nothing can be as bad as it is now. Guy is an ego-driven maniac. That's why he's there. He don't give a fuck about all the talent that he's not using. The deepest roster in the company's history. And how many of those men and women have been given an opportunity to see what they could do? And half of those men and women are not being used because Bruce looks at you and you don't fit the criteria of Bruce fucking Pritchard, folks. Why would anybody want to be employed here? I'm urging you. Don't. You do not. I swear to God, man, if you are an independent contractor, independent wrestler, and you are thinking about going to WWE, man, NXT may be a good bet for you or a good fit for you. But after that, man, nobody knows. It is like the Riddler in Gotham City. You never know when he's going to pop up, and you never know what fucking surprise he's going to have around this corner. You don't know. Why would you want to deal with somebody like that, man? You're either in or you're not. You're either liked or disliked. And you're gonna leave all of that in the hands of this guy. Give me a break. Ringside News was told that Pritchard will block out anyone. He will block out anyone of Vince McMahon's attention, that wants Vince McMahon's attention, except the ones Vince doesn't let him. So if Vince wants to speak to somebody, then Vince is going to speak to somebody. If Vince wants to hear from somebody, Bruce would be like, oh, yeah, let's hear from him. Let's hear from him. I think this is a great idea, Vince. I think this is a great idea, Vince. That's exactly what happens. And then if Vince doesn't want to speak to anybody, listen, Vince doesn't have time for you, we'll get to you. Then they never get to him. Bruce lies and manipulates and fucking does what he's got to do, gives people false sense of hope. You know, this is Bruce Pritchard, folks. This is the mentality. This is the lifestyle in WWE, you know? I hope that all tastes good, Bruce. I love it. I love it when I'm right. I really do. They've exclusively Ringside News also reported that Vince McMahon was not at Raw or SmackDown this week. And thoughts and prayers go out to the McMahon family. A little real talk here. His brother Rod McMahon passed away a couple of weeks back. So I'm assuming the family was arranging funeral services and arrangements for Rod McMahon. So Vince wasn't there for the respect of his brother. So that's that. But if you're wondering who Vince, except the ones Vince doesn't want and wants to talk to, who the fuck knows who he doesn't want to talk to, but those select individuals that he does want to talk to include Triple H, Stephanie McMahon, Kevin Dunn, Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman, Daniel Bryan, and John Cena. That's it. It's pretty selective and elite company there, folks. Triple H, Stephanie, Kevin Dunn. You know, those are the usuals. My family. Kevin Dunn, forget about it, man. We all know Kevin Dunn's status in the company. He ain't going anywhere. Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman, the biggest act on WWE television. The one act people are most interested in. Daniel Bryan and John Cena. Daniel Bryan's a part of the creative process in WWE, so it goes to show you how valued he is in that role. And John Cena, obviously, to me, still the face of the company until he 100% steps away from in-ring competition. John Cena will always be that type of guy to Vince McMahon. But the staff is having a very difficult time getting through to Vince McMahon, and it's not very difficult to see why, folks. Bruce, I am the cancer of WWE creative, Pritchard. Get rid of him. WWE is considering something crazy for the men's Royal Rumble match. Now, this does not include the women, it's just the men's. I don't know why it's not the women, but the men's is being targeted here, which I think scared the living shit out of everybody. WrestleVotes is reporting that a source in WWE spoke to him personally and said that there's a finish being considered that scares the death out of me. That source added that the idea is getting serious consideration. Now, for what it's worth, Randy Orton is in the men's Rumble match and The Fiend is not listed. Wyatt is scheduled to return to WWE TV soon. This, I talked about, is speculation. I mentioned this. Would not be a shock to see Wyatt or Alexa involved in some way, shape, or form in the men's Rumble. I don't know. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Wyatt or Alexa or both is going to cause Randy Orton's elimination from this match. How Edge and Orton finish up what they need to do, I don't know. Maybe WWE moves on and just cuts their losses and they never cross paths again. I have no idea. Whether this plays into plans for the men's Rumble match is anyone's guess with Orton, Bray, and Alexa. This is what WrestleVotes tweets out, and I quote, "Sorry for the lack of details, but still noteworthy in my opinion. Had a brief conversation earlier with a source regarding the men's Rumble match. They said, and I quote, there's a finish that scares the death out of me, and it's legitimately getting heavy consideration. Yikes." Now he knows. The one word in that tweet that grabs me most is yikes. What's happening here, folks? I don't really know what to tell anybody listening to me right now. Does Randy Orton win the Royal Rumble and Bray Wyatt burns the fucking ring down? I don't know. Does Bill Goldberg lose to Drew McIntyre, enter at number 30 or 29 or 28, whatever. Come in, wipe the show clean, go off the air, winning the Royal Rumble, challenges Roman Reigns on SmackDown. I don't know. I don't know. Does Jinder Mahal come back and win the Royal Rumble and challenge Drew McIntyre for the WWE title on Raw? Does Brock Lesnar come back and WWE goes with Brock in the main event of WrestleMania again to sell those casuals on WrestleMania, being that they move to Peacock? I don't know. WWE, there was a report that they wanted to change the procedure in how they operate the Royal Rumble. I don't know what that meant. I'm assuming that they may be operating with the no fans narrative or the COVID narrative. I don't know how WWE can obviously or honestly change the Rumble without there being any backlash. That would be like fucking changing, I don't know, your favorite recipe that's been cooked the same fucking way for 33 years. And then you get some fucking dumbass who's been in culinary arts for about 6 months doing the same thing. And his recipe is going to be on the menu moving forward. It doesn't work that way. Nobody's going to want to sit there. Nobody's going to want to eat there. Nobody's going to want to order that dish anymore. Give me a break. What do you mean by changing the outlook of the Royal Rumble, changing the rules slightly to fit with what's going on now? Why do we have to fit with what's going on now? What's going on now? There's no fucking fans. You're going to have fans in April at WrestleMania. So why are you changing your fucking time-honored tradition of the Royal Rumble to fit a fucking narrative? I want you guys to be aware that this was reported. Do they shorten the match? Is the only reason why they announced 17 fucking guys left? 13 men they announced. Are they going to shorten the field to 20? Are we going to get 30 men and 30 women all in the ring at the same time with a higher risk of COVID? How many people are they going to have in the ring at one given time? Is there going to be over 10 people in the ring at the same time? Is WWE going to take that risk? Same thing with the women. Are they going to rush through the fucking thing? Every 90 seconds is where the timer is. Is it going to be every 30 seconds? Every 60 seconds? Let's add a second ring. Who the fuck knows what these people are capable of? Maybe they add a second ring to the Royal Rumble to fit the COVID narrative. You got one ring, you got two rings, and they're instructed to go to whichever ring management tells them to go into. Imagine. You got two rings split with 15 guys each, and they go in separate rings. And you got one winner, and then they come together, and the final two guys in both rings meet in one ring, and then we get a Royal Rumble winner determined. Am I living in the fucking Twilight Zone? Imagine. And believe me, I've thought of all these fucking different scenarios. Now, obviously, everybody's thinking, Bill Goldberg is going to win. Bill Goldberg is going to win the Royal Rumble. Is Goldberg going to beat Drew McIntyre? Is Brock Lesnar going to win the Royal Rumble? Are we getting Brock Lesnar versus Bill Goldberg again at WrestleMania? God help us all. God help us all if that is the case. Does Goldberg lose against Drew McIntyre enter the Royal Rumble at number 27? What's the prime number in the Royal Rumble? What's the one position that most people have won the Royal Rumble? 27? If I'm not mistaken. Would that break Bill Goldberg's contracted dates? He's got to work 2 matches per year? Would that constitute his 3? What's in his contract? To main event every show he's on, right? I got to see this. Again, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, this is a quote that should be taken as a warning. WrestleVotes usually is spot on with a lot of the shit. He's not right all the time, or they're not right all the time, but he's usually spot on. A finish that scares the death out of me. Folks, there's only one finish that scares the death out of me, and that is the Bill Goldberg situation. That's it. I would take, on any given fucking planet, I would take Jinder Mahal 1,000,000 times out of 1,000,000 over Bill Goldberg. If you're asking me to choose Bill Goldberg over Jinder Mahal, I'm going to go with Jinder Mahal. Goldberg should not be in the Royal Rumble. Bill Goldberg should not be on a WWE pay-per-view. Bill Goldberg should not be fighting for world titles. The only gold that Bill Goldberg should have around his waist is whatever, or on his body, is whatever jewelry he wears, whether he wears a chain or a ring. That's the only gold, or a watch. That's the only gold that this guy should be wielding. Championship gold going into WrestleMania. Sorry, man. You've seen your day. I don't know what this means. I gave you every possible scenario. I don't know what they're going to do. But like I told you in the beginning, I am a man of my word. I am a man that knows this company better than the average. I am a man that when I say something and I repeat it to you over and over again and I push whatever narrative I'm pushing, I don't do it because I want to see it happen. I do it because deep down in my mind, my wrestling mind, I know it's right. And I know the majority of the people, when they see it, are going to be excited. I don't think Bill Goldberg is winning the Royal Rumble. And I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't want to give WWE the benefit of the doubt. I am not worried, slightly worried, not as worried as I was when he came out on Legends Night, but I am not worried going into Sunday that Bill Goldberg is going to win the Royal Rumble, that he's going to lose to Drew McIntyre and enter the Royal Rumble. I'm not worried about that. I'm not. What he does at WrestleMania, I don't care. You want to put him against Orton? You want to put him against Cena? You want to put him against Bray? Whatever the fuck you want to do. I don't care. Goldberg and what he does is of no value to me. Putting him in a match with Bray, I can't see this guy losing. He's got 3 fucking matches left. They're going to make him look weak. He may lose in his last match, but up until then, we may have to be under the impression that he's going to be looking strong. A match with Cena, I don't see what good that does any one of those guys. Cena coming back for Goldberg, give me a fucking break. Cena's coming back, he's putting somebody over. Goldberg versus Orton. Randy Orton, after all this Bray Wyatt stuff, beating Bill Goldberg might not be a bad look for Randy Orton. I don't know. And then maybe when Drew McIntyre wrestles whoever he's got to wrestle at the WrestleMania show for the WWE title, maybe it is Edge. Maybe Edge wins the Elimination Chamber. Maybe Edge and Randy Orton, I talked before about them tying loose ends up. Maybe the loose ends being tied up happened inside the Elimination Chamber, and Edge beats Randy Orton inside the Elimination Chamber to go to Drew McIntyre for the WWE title, beats Drew McIntyre for the WWE title. Maybe we get Edge and Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania still through the Elimination Chamber. I don't know. I don't know. WWE has provided us nothing, and everything that I'm regurgitating to you is based off nothing. These are ideas. I'm pretty sure these ideas have been discussed in WWE. Creative, in the boardrooms. But I'm not worried about Bill Goldberg winning the Royal Rumble. I'm not. I am putting my foot down. And I'm sticking to my guns. Daniel Bryan will win the Royal Rumble. Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns will main event, I don't know what night, one of the nights at WrestleMania. That is what should happen. That is what needs to happen. That is what this match was built for this year. Not an aging legend, not a 50-year-old guy coming back to wrestle one time a year for a championship because he's a big name and they want to sell tickets based off his name. Fuck Bill Goldberg. That is not who you use in that situation. You want people interested, you're going to take your biggest character right now on television, which is Roman Reigns, and you're going to put him against the reason as to why the guy fucking failed for 6 years. Daniel Bryan. I would go with Bayley in the Women's Royal Rumble, but I'm not creative. Bayley Sasha is the match I would do at WrestleMania. Get rid of it. Give those women what they deserve in front of people at WrestleMania. It still could happen. But seeing all the love Bianca Belair has gotten this year, Bianca is winning the Royal Rumble. Daniel Bryan and Bianca Belair will win the Royal Rumble. Men and women Royal Rumble winners this year. And the Rumble winners, according to Ringside News, have already been decided. They've asked around after this WrestleVote tweet that scared the shit out of everybody. They've asked around, and this is exclusive by Ringside News, by the way. They've asked around after various reports came out concerning different booking ideas that were currently under consideration. We were told that the Royal Rumble finish has already been decided. They obviously didn't go into spoilers, but according to them, and their sources are pretty damn legit. Seriously. I've talked to people that know people, and I told them about this report, and I gave my impression of the report, and they said, whatever is being reported there, yes, the Rumble winner is already decided. I don't do this for fucking shit. I just don't turn on a fucking button here and start spewing bullshit, man. I got people I talk to. They exclusively reported on January 14th that they were discussing every possible idea available to them, even the concept of the Rumble match itself. The concept. Changing the Rumble rules. Changing the Rumble aesthetic. The visualization of the Royal Rumble. Just to fit the current narrative. No fans, COVID. How many people can we have in the same ring at the same time? They have since figured out who will win the Rumble. Men and women. At this point, they go on to exclusively say any rumor or report coming out about recent plans being considered is not authentic. The company already has their winners planned out, and we are told that they are not likely to change. Then again, you can never say never with Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard. Daniel Bryan and Bianca Belair will win the Royal Rumble. That is it. I am not, and you guys know I would not, listen, if it happens, expect a fucking rant on Sunday night. That's all I can tell you. I'll come out here and say, it's the last fucking time I am ever giving these people the benefit of the doubt. I will come on here and I'll fucking wear a goddamn Bill Goldberg t-shirt if it happens. Give me a break. But I don't think that this is something that we should genuinely be concerned about. I don't think WWE is foolish to do something that outlandish in the Royal Rumble. It doesn't make sense. You're ruining the entire WrestleMania fucking season by one dumb booking decision at the end of the biggest match of the year. Daniel Bryan and Bianca Belair are your sure winners of the 2021 Royal Rumble. It is that time of the show where I usually step away. I go get myself a cold beverage. And I want to say thank you to you guys. If you made it up until this point, I appreciate you sticking with me, man. There's a lot to go over. These shows I know can be a little daunting as far as runtime. But I appreciate everybody that sticks with me and really engages themselves into the entire off-the-script experience, man. And I want to thank my sponsor, as always, Dr. Squatch. We got a plethora of sponsors, and we are lining up some new ones for 2021, man. Can't wait to show you what I have planned moving forward, not only as far as sponsors go, but upping the quality of what you see visually here, man. It's going to be insane on what happens with the live stream off the script experience. But I want to thank Dr. Squatch for sponsoring the show as always, man. drsquatch.com. You guys are going to use code SCRIPT at checkout. What I usually say is, man, if you want to look your best, feel your best, smell your best, that is Dr. Squatch, man. You are already listening to the best. So why not use the best? drsquatch.com. I never put my name behind anything I don't use. Everything that I've ever been sponsored by, I always have used it beforehand, and then I personally reach out to said sponsor so that I may tell you guys about it. And I want to be affiliated with them in some way. Dr. Squatch has joined a long list of people that I absolutely adore. Harry's, The Ridge. Now we got Dr. Squatch. Like I said, we got another sponsor lined up, and the sponsor of two actually lined up. It's going to be awesome. So you guys can save money on that. I use it every day. I use the shampoo every day. I actually have to get myself some more soap because that cold brew cleanse is unbelievable, man. And I'm going to try out the toothpaste in my next order, so I'll let you guys know about that. Man, listen, all organic. It cannot hurt you at all. I mean, I don't know why you guys are using this store-bought stuff. I think we as a general populace are a little bit more updated on what's good and what's bad for us. This is absolutely all natural, all organic. And I would never steer you guys wrong, man. DrSquatch.com. Use code SCRIPT at checkout for 20% off. We talked about the Royal Rumble. And it's never too early to talk about WrestleMania. Again, I think I've thrown every idea at the wall. And I think the only thing that I'm really sticking to right now is, my prediction on WWE's big four matches for a two-night WrestleMania this year. And just to reiterate what I think that is going to be, I think we're going Drew McIntyre and Edge for the WWE title. I think we're going Orton and Goldberg. I think we're going... Oh, man, I really, it's so tough even now because I'm thinking, what do you do with John Cena? What do you do with John Cena? Does John Cena just show up? Is he a master of ceremonies? Is he a host? I don't really know. I think what we're doing here is Edge and McIntyre. I think we're going Goldberg and Orton. I think we're going Bryan and Reigns. And then John Cena. It's so tough to pick out John Cena's opponent because I don't even think WWE knows. You could go one of two ways with John Cena. You could go Bill Goldberg. You could go Edge. You could absolutely go Edge. You could go Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt is probably the one that stands out most, you know? But then what do you do with Goldberg? What do you do with Orton? I don't know what you do with these. And I don't foresee WWE using Sheamus in a big match at WrestleMania. I just don't. I think if McIntyre is in something at WrestleMania, it's going to be against a notable name. So John Cena is the one that I'm having a very difficult time booking anything for at WrestleMania. One of the things that I envisioned here. Let me know what you think of this. And by the way, the report says that John Cena is a 100% lock for WrestleMania, but his opponent is unknown. Nobody knows what John Cena will be doing at WrestleMania. I don't even think John Cena himself knows. What if Daniel Bryan wins the Royal Rumble? And then we go to the Elimination Chamber with the Monday Night Raw title, the WWE title, still needing a conclusion, right? We need a match for WrestleMania. In that Elimination Chamber, we see the likes of Sheamus, we see Keith Lee, we see Edge, we see Randy Orton. What if Randy Orton again eliminates Edge from the Elimination Chamber? And Edge is in this storyline dejected. He told everybody that he was back to reclaim the throne. He wants to end his career the way he envisioned. He wants to win the Royal Rumble. He doesn't win the Royal Rumble. He wants to go to WrestleMania. He doesn't go to WrestleMania. What if he comes out of both situations a loser? And he's dejected. And then he's got Mr. You Can't See Me. Mr. Always, I got something to say, loyalty, hustle, respect. You know, the preacher wannabe, John Cena, coming back and telling Edge what he needs to do, what he should really be looking at as far as this stage of his career. And then Edge takes it, I guess, offensive. Maybe we see a little bit more rugged John Cena. Maybe we see Thugonomics John Cena a little bit. What if we get Edge and John Cena at WrestleMania? I mean, Edge could really be looked at as one of John Cena's greatest opponents. I don't know what else you would do with John Cena at WrestleMania. Edge is a possibility. Goldberg is a possibility. I don't know why that would be at WrestleMania. What good would that do anybody? You could do John Cena and Randy Orton at WrestleMania. I know I don't give a shit about that, but it is what it is. You know? You could have John Cena and Drew McIntyre if you want. John Cena coming back and chasing number 17. When is it going to be right? And you got to think about when to execute that. I mean, that's a story that sells itself, honestly. Who are you going to do it with? You're going to do it with some no-name fucking guy that you give the title to, or you're going to do it with somebody that you've already built up as a legit contender? A legit guy, the guy on Monday Night Raw. If you want to go about it, John Cena versus Drew McIntyre. You can do Edge and Orton. You could do Goldberg and Wyatt, with Wyatt going over. Edge getting his victory back over Orton. And then Reigns and Bryan. Honestly, I've already discussed this four. I've already discussed these big four matches. That is the one thing. That is the one thing that I always go back to that makes the most sense. It just fits like a glove. John Cena chasing McIntyre for number 17. Orton and Edge finishing up what they started last year. Bray Wyatt getting his victory back over Goldberg. Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns. Like a glove, just rolls off the fucking tongue. What does Brock Lesnar do at WrestleMania? Put him in the ring against Keith Lee. Put him in the ring against Bobby Lashley. Whatever you want to do. Lesnar does not need to be in a championship match. So John Cena right now, he will be at WrestleMania. He was in that, I guess that little skit that they did, the WrestleMania trifecta announcement for WrestleMania 37, 38, and 39. And he will be there. We just don't know against who. A tenured member of the writing team told Ringside News that there are no matches that have been shared regarding John Cena, but this is definitely a situation where he will be at WrestleMania. And right now, information is scarce. Because Vince is the only one who knows, and then Bruce knows, and he's not telling anybody else. Because God forbid anybody else has a better idea than Bruce fucking Pritchard. So again, let me reiterate this. What is John Cena doing in WrestleMania? A multitude of things you could do with John Cena. What fits best? A match with McIntyre. Because if McIntyre beats Goldberg, he's got a lot of bragging to do. Who else is next? Who's next for me? Right? John Cena seems like the perfect guy. Come out, you can't see me. What is John Cena doing now? Anyway, is he filming movies? I don't know what's going on in Hollywood. Or is he doing another hefty fucking bag commercial? I don't know. Or is he shilling Honda? What is he doing nowadays that's more important than a match with Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania? McIntyre, Cena, Bray, Goldberg, Orton, Edge, Bryan, Reigns. Fits like a glove to me, man. I don't even wear fucking gloves. Undertaker will not be at WrestleMania. That is my prediction. Undertaker status for WrestleMania. John Cena, nearly a lock. Goldberg, a lock. Lesnar, iffy. Lesnar does what he wants to do. WrestleVotes is reporting that the majority of the people backstage think Taker is done. And hopefully he is. But the gut feeling is that all it will take is one call from Vince McMahon that convinces him to come out of retirement, rendering the Survivor Series useless and worthless. And I will never take another fucking announcement by WWE ever again that seriously. Oh, he's retiring. He's riding off into the sunset. The last ride for The Undertaker. Bullshit. Not only was it fucking terribly produced, and the same shit we've seen for years. Now you're going to fucking go back on that like you went back on the WrestleMania 33 situation. Give me a break. WrestleVote says the majority of the people don't think that Taker will be back, but all it takes is one tombstone and one call from Vince McMahon. I don't know why I said tombstone. Maybe he comes out and just does a tombstone at WrestleMania. But still, that's coming out of retirement. If you're donning the fucking jacket and the whole getup and the eyeliner, the hat, the gloves, the boots, the music, the lightning, the fucking smoke, you're coming out of retirement. You told me that was the last time we're going to see that. Now, if he wants to come out of retirement and give me American Badass Undertaker, I'll take that. I'll take that. In some ways, especially now, I actually want to see that version of The Undertaker and not the dead man. The dead man is dead. Or maybe that's what he meant. Maybe it was a inside thing. This version of me is now finished, laid to rest, but his American Badass. So with Taker, all it takes is one call from Vince McMahon, and if it's a big payday that's offered to him, I don't know how he turns it down, especially with the relationship that he does have that's been very well documented with him in the documentary that aired. Him and Vince McMahon are, this close. What seems more likely is an appearance where Taker walks out, tombstone, chokeslam, goodbye. Meltzer reported in the Observer newsletter this week that the card for Mania is not locked in at all. Changes will be made for sure. So we should start to see the seeds planted for matches in a couple of weeks following the Royal Rumble. I am predicting Undertaker is not there. He doesn't fit into any plans whatsoever. And John Cena and what they got planned for him, I'm going to say Drew McIntyre is probably the safest bet for John Cena at WrestleMania. Fox Sports, NBC, Universal with Peacock, ESPN. A lot of drama going on as far as who will be getting WWE services. Now, with WWE moving to Peacock, I already made a video on this. I don't really want to spend too much time on this, but I will say this. Great move for the fans, but I did get a little worried here because of two things. Number one, WWE does not have Peacock able to stream on Fire Stick TV. I know a lot of you guys have smart TVs now. I don't have a smart TV. I'm going to be in the market for a TV in the next couple of years, but I'm not going out to go buy a fucking TV so that it's a smart TV. I mean, everything in my fucking house is smart. The fuck do I need a smart TV for? I'm still using dinosaur technology in Fire Stick, okay? So Peacock is not on Fire Stick. And also, Peacock does not, I read today that Peacock, Friday, by the way, you guys are seeing this on Saturday, Peacock does not have a rewind option like the WWE Network has. So if you start a pay-per-view, for example, at 9 o'clock and you're just getting home from work or you're getting home from work or a play date or something, whatever the fucking case may be, you're out to eat, running errands, you come on in at 8 o'clock, pay-per-view starts, and you dilly-dally around the house for whatever reason. You don't really sit down till 9 o'clock. You can't go back and rewatch. You can't rewind. You can't rewind via Peacock. When they show live sports, you are live. You got to wait for it to go back and be on demand. And how long that's going to be, I don't know. I don't know what their service is. I don't own Peacock. But Peacock is, at the end of it, a steal for WWE. They got another thievery attempt here secure. Like Vince McMahon's like the fucking repo man. Comes in and without even blinking an eyeball, this guy's stealing money. Large sums of money from Fox, from NBC. I mean, this is unreal. The WWE Network is a failure. WWE gave this thing away for years because they needed to shield to their investors. Hey, look how many people are signed up for the WWE Network. How many of them were free subscribers that you gave it away to? I don't know. That ain't happening with Peacock anymore, I'll tell you that. And only within the last, 6 to 9 months, WWE started doing the right thing, charging for the WWE Network. You want the basics of basics, $4.99 or free. They still gave a free fucking version away just so that they could get their numbers up. I don't even know if there was a minor paid tier. There was supposed to be. It's either free, you get the basics, the bare bones fucking version of it, or you pay $9.99 and you get full 100% access. But they were still giving it away for free. They weren't putting anything on there that is going to blow anybody away. Maybe a documentary or two, maybe some fucking cartoon skits or Sam Roberts, whatever the fuck is on there that nobody watches. But they gave it away for free for how long? Just to shield to their investors. Hey, look at the number we're doing. And they never eclipsed 1.5. They were always at that medium for 1.5. They had aspirations of 2.5. They didn't even get close to that. But it's a good deal nonetheless for fans. Because not only do you get now Peacock and everything that comes with Peacock, now you're getting WWE Network as well, all for the same price of $9.99. Now, there is negatives to this. I did mention this. Whether you believe me or not or agree with me, I don't give a shit. There are negatives to this, whether you look at it or not. The WWE Network was a failure. They mishandled it completely. It was a complete misfire. It may have been a successful endeavor for the fans, but was it a successful endeavor for the WWE? No. They had their backs against the wall, and they had to sell what was their back catalog, which is probably worth everything that they're getting right now, to NBC because of their failures. If the WWE did the right thing with the network, they wouldn't have to sell the WWE Network. And it all starts at the top. Their product sucks. Their product is miserable. People don't want to pay for something that they don't like. The only reason why I'm paying for it is because a lot of that stuff I like to reminisce on. A lot of that stuff I like to go back and watch. I like knowing that I have full access to everything I ever had as a child. I love it. But a lot of these people don't think that way like I do. A lot of these people don't want to support the company knowing that the company has let them down and doesn't give a shit about them. So why am I paying them for something that sucks? There are a lot of people, I know a lot of people myself personally that have canceled the WWE Network for that reason alone. The network was a failure. If they were successful, they wouldn't have to sell their body of work to somebody else. Now, this is WWE being in bed with NBC Universal for the next 5 years. I mean, who knows what happens after 5 years? We don't know. But WWE is getting a cool $1 billion. So not only was it a failure, WWE now is premiering this with Fastlane. This is going into WrestleMania season. WrestleMania will be on Peacock, on the Peacock streaming service. Now, just like WrestleMania 30, this is happening all over again. Why did The Undertaker streak at WrestleMania get axed? Why did they end the streak? Because it was the first year the network was in existence. And if Vince McMahon has this new network that he wants to sell to everybody, he's going to do whatever he has to do to make sure people are invested. The only way you can watch WWE pay-per-view is now through the WWE Network. If you ain't signed up, you're going to miss shit like this. Boom. The Undertaker streak was fucking dead. When it should have never even been a thought. Hey, come sign up for the WWE Network. You could miss out on monumental occasions like The Undertaker losing his WrestleMania streak after 30 years. That's the only reason why it came to an end. And now we're going to see the same thing in 2021 with Peacock and WWE in bed together. If you were thinking you were going to get a WrestleMania that brings fans back in some momentous occasion and we can finally celebrate WrestleMania being WrestleMania, think again, folks. This will be the most casual WrestleMania of our lifetime because not only do they need to appeal to 26 million fucking geeks on Peacock, but they need to sell their product for all those disenfranchised fans that they're hoping to get back. And how are you going to do that? With Ricochet? With Keith Lee? With Ali? Give me a break. Aleister Black, Andrade, Angel Garza, all the young talent. They're going to do it with the Triple H's. They're going to do it with the Undertakers. They're going to do it with the Goldbergs, the Edges, the Ortons, the Cenas, the Rocks. That's what they're doing. WrestleMania is going to be the most casual of casual WrestleManias to appeal to the fucking guy that doesn't know jack shit. That fan that's been missing for 10 years. How do we get them back? Everybody that's watching now, WWE knows they got you. You're going to be watching regardless. They don't give a fuck about you. They got your money. They want that person who's now got Peacock that wouldn't get the WWE Network. How do we get those people to now translate to live weekly viewers? The most casual of casual WrestleManias will happen in Tampa. And I'm not looking forward to it. That sucks. That sucks. WrestleMania in itself is an event that people should go out there and watch. I don't need you to load the show up with 50-year-olds and part-timers. I don't want that. WrestleMania in itself should sell itself. You should be putting talent that you now have on the show today, weekly, in front of those people because they might find something that they actually are interested in instead of seeing Goldberg dripping sweat after 16 seconds. Is Fox going to work with AEW once their WWE deal ends because of this merger with Peacock? Speaking on Wrestling Observer Radio, Meltzer addressed whether or not Fox will look to work with AEW after their WWE deal comes to an end, noting that it is unlikely, but it isn't out of the question. He says this, and I quote, "I knew this was going to be asked, and it's a really hard question to answer because these two things can change. AEW could go down, AEW could go up. WWE could go down, they could go back up. I would not rule that out. I would say it's a long shot, but in 2 years, that may be a smart move anyway. There's just no way of knowing. So today, I would lean towards a no with AEW working with Fox. But considering no one's talking today, they'd be talking in a couple of years. Or in a couple of years, whatever the numbers are, will determine what move is made. If AEW's numbers go up, way up, they may find interest in AEW. Absolutely. If AEW's numbers go down, of course not. If WWE's numbers go up, then they may want to keep WWE. If they go way down, they won't want to keep them. If AEW's numbers rise and surpass WWE's, and Fox can go in there and go, we can get a higher rating at a lower price, why wouldn't they go after AEW? So I guess the best answer is to be determined based on the state of both companies over the next 2 years. But today, I would say no. Fox isn't even the issue. ESPN has now banned all WWE programming on their streaming services and their cable networks. ESPN took this as a shot directly from WWE. Who's to say that ESPN doesn't go and do AEW? Who's to say AEW doesn't end up on ESPN Plus like a UFC? I don't know. AEW's entire back catalog of Dynamite could be on ESPN Plus. I would not be shocked to see that. Meltzer actually talked about that. He says, and I quote, "It's got nothing to do with wrestling. In theory, there's no ban as far as I know on getting guests like Shaquille O'Neal or Mike Tyson, or if they do a match or something like that. Yeah, they could put them on, or they could put Cody Rhodes on or whatever. They didn't ban wrestling. ESPN did not ban wrestling. It was just WWE. I don't know if that means they'll do anything with AEW, but the ban, I told people, was with WWE only. So ESPN banned WWE from their streaming service. I don't know. If they want pro wrestling and AEW continues to rise and they get consistent ratings and they trend in the top 5 weekly for cable on Wednesday night, who's to say ESPN doesn't go out and get AEW just to stick it to Vince McMahon at a cheaper rate? We'll see what happens, man. It's a very interesting situation. Fox, I don't think Fox is going to. I think WWE, even after this experiment on Fox now, when that deal is up, I do think Fox is going to end up renewing. It's consistent television. Fox wants something that is there every single week. New episodes, no matter what. I think WWE and Fox will be in bed together for quite a while. But ESPN and AEW, man, let me know what you guys think about that. I could see that absolutely happening in a couple of years' time, for sure. AEW is under the old pay-per-view model, man. They need to go and update themselves a little bit more. There's only so much they could do under that old pay-per-view model. They could still have that pay-per-view model, but I think if WWE is doing the Peacock thing, ESPN is upset with that, I think that's a great move to go get AEW, lower those pay-per-view prices to $14.99, $9.99, whatever the case is, and watch those numbers go up from where we see them now. WWE, I don't know what they do as far as pay-per-view numbers go, but AEW on traditional pay-per-view is doing 150,000 to 200,000 buys. Imagine AEW doing double that at a lower price. Would you be more apt to ordering an AEW pay-per-view if it wasn't $49.99? Let me know. And you get all of Dynamite in back catalog as well. Let me know what you guys think about that. I definitely see that happening in the next couple of years, for sure. SmackDown SmackDown ratings for the last week. Not yesterday's show because I just don't have those ratings accessible to me right now. SmackDown last week, the episode drew an average of 2.282 million views, which was up from the previous week of 2.153 million viewers on Fox. The first hour did a 2.284, and the second hour did a 2.280. The show previous to this one did a 2.2 exactly in hour one and a 2.105 million viewership in hour two. 18 to 49 demo was a 0.60, and that was number 2 for the Knights. And they did the same the week prior at a 0.60 in the 18 to 49 demo. SmackDown saw Apollo Crews versus Big E go to a disqualification because of Sami Zayn, who protested the show and handcuffed himself to the barricade inside the Thunderdome. And he unhandcuffed himself and attacked both Big E and Apollo Crews, which I'm assuming will lead to a triple threat match. Whether that happens at the Royal Rumble or it happens on SmackDown remains to be seen. WWE may limit their Royal Rumble card to 53.5-hour time limit. I'm hoping they go. But Sami Zayn picked his spot. It looked great. I would not be shocked if Sami Zayn wins that Intercontinental title back from Big E. I don't know what they do with Big E at WrestleMania. I've been pulling for Rollins and Big E possibly for the IC title. Does that match need the IC title? If you want to get Big E ready for Roman, having him beat Seth is a great way to go. Big E doesn't necessarily need that title in that feud with Rollins. Maybe give it to Sammy, have Sammy feud with Owens. What do you do with Owens? What do you do with KO after Royal Rumble? What do you do with KO after Roman Reigns? Could be Sammy. Could be KO and Sammy for the IC title. I've also pitched, if you don't want to do Lashley and Lesnar, and Keith Lee is not getting Lesnar at WrestleMania, maybe they do Keith Lee and Sheamus teaming up for the tag team titles, being that there's some sort of weird, bizarre bond there after they battled. Maybe you do Kevin Owens versus Brock Lesnar. Kevin Owens mentioned it on Talking Smack a couple of weeks ago to Paul Heyman. Maybe they do that. I would not be opposed to that either. But I don't know what they do with the IC title. Again, everything legitimately is up in the air. I don't know what their solid plans are. Triple threat, somewhere, where it happens, I don't know. Bayley versus Bianca happened in an ultimate athletic obstacle course. Bianca Belair won. Bayley rigged the whole thing. Attacked Bianca at the end of it. Really good stuff there. Everybody was so high on Bianca going in, and then after that, and the documentary airing, I think everybody is just in love with Bianca now, and rightfully so. She's awesome. Cesaro beats Dolph Ziggler. Relatively quick fashion. Sasha Banks defeated Reginald with Carmella. Was not a fan of the intergender stuff. He did not lay one hand on her. And it was Mexican arm drags and a bunch of theatrics and a bunch of gymnastics to get him involved in this thing. Sasha ended up winning. If you're going to book an intergender match, like I said on Friday for the post show, if you're going to do an intergender match, then do a fucking intergender match. Don't do an intergender match for the sake of doing it and then, I guess, kind of weasel yourself out of it. It's lame. King Corbin defeated Dominic Mysterio, and Paul Heyman was in the main event with Adam Pearce, which was Roman and Paul Heyman getting back at Adam Pearce because card was subject to change. Pearce did that, enlisted Owens, signed Owens for the match against Roman at the Royal Rumble. Then Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns led Adam Pearce right into the situation. Paul Heyman accidentally tripped on the steel steps going into the ring. Hurt himself, quote unquote. Card subject to change. Adam Pearce's real opponent was Roman Reigns. He got his ass kicked. And then Kevin Owens laid out Roman Reigns. And he was the last man standing on SmackDown, which was a tease for their match at the Royal Rumble, which is indeed a last man standing match. Very much looking forward to that. The two matches that they had were awesome. Roman Reigns, though, will retain the Universal Championship. AEW. AEW beat NXT in the ratings. This is the usual. This is the norm for AEW on Wednesday night. And it was not by a lot. AEW won the ratings, which I was kind of surprised by. I wonder if everybody decided to watch pro wrestling on Wednesday night. But the ratings are in. AEW was down. NXT was up. in total viewers. It was AEW that took the win this week and won the key demo, as always. So AEW did 734,000 and NXT did 720,000. Now, AEW last week did 854, while NXT drew 659,000. Looks like the Dusty Classic is generating some interest. Or maybe it's Triple H trying to counter what the Elite are doing on AEW by having his own Bullet Club type deal with Balor joining the Undisputed Era. I don't know. But the Dusty Classic, I've been a fan of the Dusty Classic ever since its inception. And whatever was happening on NXT the last couple weeks, as far as the Dusty Classic is concerned, the Dusty Tag Team Classic has been good stuff. It's been good stuff. AEW was fun this week as well. But next week, they got a theme show going on, Beach Break. So I'm assuming AEW is going to have a substantial ratings victory next week because they loaded that show up with some really, really great shit. Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker. They got that Elite versus Jon Moxley, Phoenix, and Pac match. They got the Eliminator Tournament for the women starting. Tag Team Battle Royal to see who wrestles the Young Bucks at Revolution. A lot of good stuff. A lot of good stuff happening. AEW ranked number 6 in the top 150. NXT was number 24. Seems to be a little higher for NXT than normal. As is the case in most weeks, AEW won the 18-49 demo. They did 0.29. NXT did 0.21. And then, obviously, every other demo was won by AEW except the 50+. NXT did 0.35 and AEW did 0.27. So that's that. Reason why actually, you know what? Let me retract that. I'm looking at this now and I just glanced over. It looks like the female viewership, 18-49 and 18-34. It looks like AEW was down and NXT beat them in the female viewership. That goes to show you the female Dusty Classic. The women's Dusty Classic is a good draw. And NXT's got the best women's division on the planet, so I'm not surprised by that whatsoever. So AEW did not win all the demographics. So the Dusty Classic, the women's Dusty Classic, seems to be working pretty well for NXT as well. The women of NXT may legitimately be the only draw that they got right now. And I mean that wholeheartedly. That division is absolutely stacked. Whoever put that division together deserves a firm handshake, man. Let me tell you. Pat McAfee. I think we all kind of understand his role here. They use him because he's a fan. They use him because they think for some odd reason they're going to generate interest from his audience here. Doesn't really work out that way. But he did shut everybody up. And I was one of those critics. Just the same thing. The same thing with AEW and NXT. I'll get into the results in a second, but Pat McAfee, he shut everybody up, and I hate, just like with what we're seeing now, Shaq and Cody Rhodes, I get it. I get why these outside celebrities are used in the pro wrestling realm, okay? I'm not a dummy. But Pat McAfee, Shaquille O'Neal, it's all good in theory. WWE, AEW thinks it's good in theory. Oh, yeah, we're going to generate interest. But it's only a temporary thing. AEW with Shaq, they will get their ESPN coverage. Pat McAfee, I'm assuming was on some ESPN shit as well with WWE. I think ESPN might have even interviewed Triple H before the Adam Cole Pat McAfee match. They get their 15 minutes on fucking ESPN and that's it. It doesn't have any long-term effect. It gives WWE that public publicity, that public spotlight for about a good 24-hour period, and then what happens? Do they get anybody's attention? Long-lasting? No, they don't. But Pat McAfee was never invited back after the War Games match, and nobody knew why. And Meltzer is now reporting that WWE told McAfee that they'd call him in the spring regarding a return to television. But they didn't use Pat McAfee after War Games. He says he can always come back. They can always ask him. He's ready to go. I just know that when he did that last match, he was told, we'll bring you back in the spring. I think they didn't want him as a regular. There's no heat on McAfee. They just told him, we'll call you in the spring. It wasn't like he said, I'm busy, I can come back in the spring. It didn't go that way. It was like, we'll call you in the spring. So they could call him tomorrow, and he would come back. He didn't act like he wouldn't. They could change their mind, but whatever it was, that's just how it went down, according to Meltzer. And they don't want to over-accentuate Pat McAfee to that audience because that's not what NXT is about. Even though NXT did change for the worse, NXT's not their developmental system anymore. They're primed for TV. They need to be TV ready. They need to put characters out there that are TV ready. They have to build storylines week to week. They're in competition with another wrestling promotion. They're no longer a developmental territory like they were at 1 hour on WWE Network. So NXT's purpose is not what we remember it being. WWE needs a new developmental territory. They need another NXT show to be the developmental now for their legitimate third brand. That's what it needs to be. Having Pat McAfee on that show has no long-lasting effect. Having Pat McAfee on that show, I think WWE, I think Triple H, I think everybody in creative kind of knows that he put a lot of those active roster members on NXT to shame with what he could do. And half of those men and women can't even cut a fucking promo properly. Pat McAfee comes there as an ex-football player and not a pro wrestler, and he schooled everybody on night one. Now, I don't know who's teaching there at the PC, but if I see Pat McAfee come in and he's doing a better job collectively than everybody that I'm training, there's a fucking problem. You should already be learning how to cut a good promo, an effective promo. Why can he come in without having a day fucking training on how to cut a promo and nobody else could do it as good as he can? I mean, he cut a better promo than half of the fucking main roster. You don't want to have that on your show every single week. He'd be putting people to shame. Meanwhile, you need those people to step up to the plate and get themselves ready for Raw and SmackDown. Meanwhile, Pat McAfee's coming in here and showing you how it's done. It's not the way I'd want it. We'll call you in the spring. AEW, result for AEW. Let me go over this really quickly. We got the Young Bucks and the Good Brothers defeating the Dark Order. Fun tag team match to close the show. Darby and Sting addressed the street fight. Lance Archer was defeated by Eddie Kingston. Cody responded to Shaq. Challenge was made. Cody and Velvet, Red Velvet, will go against Shaq and Jade Cargill. Not really a fan of it, but again, I do understand. Jericho and MJF defeated the Varsity Blondes. That's Griff Garrison and Brian Pillman Jr. Jericho with a lion salt at the end of the match with a prick-like smile for everybody that criticized him being sloppy the week before. Made everybody look like an idiot with just one smile and a perfect lion salt. Dax Harwood and Jungle Boy had the match of the week so far. So far. I doubt anything on SmackDown is going to be better, but Jungle Boy looked like a man, and Dax brought him there. Jungle Boy beats Dax in a fantastic wrestling match. Moxley spoke about Kenny Omega and the Elite. Six-man tag is going to be awesome. Britt Baker defeated Shanna. And Adam Page defeated Dolph Ziggler Jr., a.k.a. Ryan Nemeth, Dolph Ziggler's brother. That was AEW. NXT, not really all that exciting, to be quite honest with you. I watched and really nothing stood out. The Women's Dusty Classic is some good stuff. I got my pick to win the Dusty Classic. But we got MSK defeating Killian Dane and Drake Maverick. I've seen a couple of people on social media criticizing that both of these teams are in the same match because people want to see either one of these teams win it. Now, Killian Dane and Drake Maverick are now eliminated. MSK, listen, MSK looks good, man. They look good. They have shined in the 3 weeks we've seen them, 2 weeks that we've seen them. But I don't know what their ceiling is on the main roster. I don't. I hope I'm wrong. But tag team wrestling and main roster do not go in the same bowl. But they're doing well right now. So by the time they get up to the main roster, maybe Vince McMahon is not there anymore. Who knows? But their ceiling right now doesn't extend past NXT. They beat Dane and Maverick. Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. They defeated Aaliyah and Jessie Kamea with Robert Stone in a first-round Dusty Classic match. Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. I am very high on Raquel Gonzalez. I think she's fucking awesome. I think they win the Tag Team Classic. There's no other team that makes sense. They're pushing Raquel hard. So I doubt there will be another team in that tournament that wins. It just doesn't make sense if it's not Raquel and Dakota. Tyler Rust beat a jobber. He's with Malcolm Bivens. The grizzled young veterans defeated Kushida and Leon Ruff in a Dusty Tag Team Classic. The grizzled young veterans put Kushida and Leon Ruff down for teaming for 5 minutes. Very competitive match nonetheless with the grizzled young veterans. The right team winning here over Kushida and Leon Ruff. Afterwards, Johnny Gargano and Austin Theory came out and they beat up Kushida. Gargano spiking Kushida with one final beat DDT. Theory restrained Ruff while he was doing that. And then Dexter Lumis was watching from the sidelines, just staring a hole through Gargano and Austin Theory. So I don't know where they're going with the North American Championship, but seems like Dexter Lumis is looming. And I'm all right with that. But give me a Gargano and Kushida match at TakeOver, man. I think that could steal the show. Johnny Takeover. We need Johnny Takeover back in action, man. I miss good old Johnny Takeover. Io Shirai brawled with Toni Storm and Mercedes Martinez over the NXT Women's title. You guys know I love Toni. I am not feeling this Toni Storm heel turn. I'm not. I think they stripped Toni Storm of her coolness factor. I don't know if it's just me, but I honestly think Toni is now a little bit more uncool for being heel. I don't think she comes off as a heel verbally. I don't think she comes off as a heel in tone, promo-wise. I don't. I see Toni Storm as a babyface, someone that I want to root for. I don't want to see her get her ass kicked. Now, I'm still going to cheer for her regardless because I love Toni Storm, but I just don't feel it yet. I don't. I was hoping that it would make her bigger than she was before, but we're not there yet. Maybe I need a little bit more time. She brawled with Io and Mercedes Martinez, and she was the one who stood tall in the end here, pretty much telegraphing what her possible future will be after she laid both of them out. She held up the NXT Women's title. So we could be looking at a triple threat match at the pay-per-view. We don't know what's happening there. None of the matches have been booked for the pay-per-view yet on February 14th. We got Bronson Reed defeating Isaiah Swerve Scott. Bronson Reed is fucking awesome. Isaiah Scott is awesome. This was fun. I'm a big Bronson Reed fan. And Finn Balor, Kyle O'Reilly defeated Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch. I was under the impression this was a tag team title match. It was not. It was just them getting revenge on this UK union here between Burch, Lorcan, and Pete Dunne with Pat McAfee, who was the leader here. And Balor and O'Reilly, they couldn't even celebrate. Pete Dunne hit the ring, took out both guys, leveraging the numbers advantage in their favor. The Undisputed Era came out, or what is rest of them, Adam Cole and Roderick Strong, eventually tried to back up their boys, but Dunne brutally just laid out Balor, snapping his fingers, sending a vocal message to the NXT champion. And then all through the night, we got Karrion Kross, Scarlett reading tarot cards. We got him teasing that he's coming for whomever. I don't know when that's going to be. It looks like we're getting Balor and Dunne or something along those lines there. And we're going to save Kross for WrestleMania weekend, I'm assuming, or after WrestleMania. I don't even know if there's going to be a takeover WrestleMania week. So it seems like they're waiting on Kross. Or maybe Kross doesn't even challenge for the NXT title, and they just call him up immediately. They call him up immediately. I don't know if you guys seen the report. Now, maybe he's joking. Maybe he's just a big Seth Rollins guy. I don't know. But Karrion Kross said a match with Seth Rollins is inevitable. I don't know what the fuck that means. But he may not even get a chance to win the NXT title back, and they just may call him. He may be in the Royal Rumble tomorrow night. I have no fucking idea. I would not be surprised by that. I'm surprised that he even showed up back in NXT. He doesn't belong there. Not with that character. Not with her by his side. Anyway, that was your Wednesday night. Really nothing all that spectacular. AEW was the better show in my eyes. NXT wasn't bad, but it's just missing something. It's not exciting anymore. It's just not. It doesn't resonate with me as it did in the past. In the past, I have to watch it. Like, I stayed up till 3 in the morning to watch NXT on DVR. Every Wednesday. And I did a review or a live stream. Not anymore. It's a waste of my time. Nobody gives a fuck. Nobody cares. I'm not going to produce content that nobody cares about if nobody watches it. Nobody watches NXT. Nobody's going to watch me talk about NXT. The world goes round and round. Moving on here, man. Rhea Ripley. She will be in the Royal Rumble. She has not been on NXT television since she lost a last woman standing match to Raquel Gonzalez. Rhea Ripley was actually supposed to debut on the main roster weeks ago. And this is a pretty simple explanation here, folks. With Dave Meltzer reporting this on one of the more recent Wrestling Observer Lives, Rhea Ripley was set to debut on the main roster a few weeks ago, but a decision was made to postpone that. He says, and I quote, Ripley is on the main roster. She was going to debut a couple of weeks ago, but they put it off, and now it could be any time until she shows up. Instead, WWE, what they did here, instead of debuting her just randomly out of the blue, a great introductory would be Rhea Ripley showing up in the Royal Rumble and having several eliminations under her belt before they decide on what brand she goes to. And that's exactly what's going to happen. So somebody, what this report is trying to tell you, what Meltzer is trying to tell you, she was supposed to debut on the main roster weeks ago, and somebody, so I don't know who it was, I doubt it was Bruce, somebody got a hold of what actually makes sense here and went with it. Hey, maybe we should wait and put her in the Royal Rumble. There's no use for her on TV now because she's not going to factor into anything. Let's keep her as a surprise. We're not going to do Edge as a surprise, but Rhea Ripley showing up in the Rumble and having mass eliminations, building her up. How long that lasts remains to be seen. But her in the Royal Rumble, I think that's what they're ultimately going with, so I'm not surprised by that news article at all. Monday Night Raw, ratings are down. Ratings are down for a Royal Rumble stay-home show. Because that's exactly what it was. It was terrible. Average 1.819 on USA Monday night. This is down from a 1.854 a week ago. Raw is expected to get an increase in viewership due to WWE going into WrestleMania season. That's always the case. But you would figure going into the Royal Rumble, they would be up. They were down. They were down. On a show where they just threw Edge right into the middle of the show with no promotion whatsoever. Maybe you could have got a rating that was equal or greater to last week's show, but you decided not to promote one of your biggest guys going into WrestleMania season. The 18 to 49 demo saw hour 1 at a 0.57, hour 2 was a 0.51, and hour 3 was a 0.47. The hourly breakdown, 1.904, 1.838, and 1.716. Edge was right in between that 9 p.m. and 10 p.m. hour when that 10 p.m. hour started. So WWE, I don't know who the fuck is making executive decisions there on those type of situations, but you royally fucked up. Nobody's watching Monday Night Raw to see surprises. I want to know what's happening on Monday Night Raw. That's one of their biggest fucking problems. They don't get you ready for what's to come week after week after week. If people knew what the fuck they were getting ready to watch, maybe people would watch. But you go on WWE.com and you look at what's coming on Monday night, and they got whatever happened on Friday still up there on the homepage at 6:30. Lazy. They deserve every fucking low rating they get. They don't give a fuck about this show. John Morrison and The Miz defeated Sheamus after Sheamus beat John Morrison in a one-on-one match. 50-50 booking. AJ Styles defeated R-Truth. R-Truth wanted to be in the Royal Rumble. Adam Pearce said, well, you got to earn it. AJ Styles seems to be the guy that you got to earn it against. So clearly he was not going to beat AJ Styles. So R-Truth, I guess, is not in the Royal Rumble. Maybe his spot could go to an RVD or a Carlito or Chris Masters or whoever the fuck they go and get to bring back for a one-time, non-existent virtual pop inside the Thunderdome. Drew McIntyre and Bill Goldberg had a face-to-face. You, me, Sunday, you're next. Legitimately. I could write Bill Goldberg's promos for him. I don't need Bruce to write his promos. That was legitimately word for word verbatim what he said. Then they speared Morrison and Miz. Is Miz going to cash in? Of course not. One idea. Let me throw this by you. One idea. What if this happens? What if Drew McIntyre beats Goldberg? And then Miz cashes in on Drew McIntyre. Wins the WWE title. Daniel Bryan wins the Royal Rumble. Miz gloats to Daniel Bryan. Bryan ends up choosing Miz. And we get, God almighty, we get Miz and Bryan at WrestleMania for the WWE title on Monday Night Raw, which would open WWE to still give us Goldberg versus Reigns. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? A situation where Drew McIntyre gets cashed in on for Royal Rumble, making that match a triple threat match. Goldberg feels slighted. They give him a spot in the Rumble. He wins the Rumble, gets Roman, Miz gets Bryan. Because the Monday Night Raw side will get the Elimination Chamber, and Bryan's got to win the Elimination Chamber. Oh, my God, man. Oh, that's another scenario I'm just throwing out there. Just another scenario. Matt Riddle defeated the Hurt Business in a gauntlet match. Seems to be inner turmoil between Cedric and the rest of the Hurt Business. I don't know if he's getting kicked out. I don't know if it's going to be just an on and off thing here from this point on. I have no idea. But Matt Riddle and Bobby Lashley are headed for another United States title match. When that happens, I don't know. But he defeated the Hurt Business. Once upon a time, the Hurt Business was the most the most strongest act built creatively on Monday Night Raw. Those days are long gone, folks. Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax, and Lacey Evans defeated Charlotte, Dana Brooke, and Mandy Rose. This was after Charlotte and Shayna Baszler went to a count out. So we got a situation that happened that I'm going to talk about in a second. And Alexa Bliss versus Asuka went to a no contest when Randy Orton RKO'd Alexa Bliss. She went through 3 transformations. She came out as playful Funhouse Bliss. She transformed into the goddess Alexa Bliss. And then she showed up as a demon Alexa Bliss. Theatrics that are not making Asuka or the Raw Women's title look good in any way. So before she hits Sister Abigail, Orton shows up. RKO. He's got no bandage on his face. He's selling the burns. RKO to Alexa Bliss. God bless her for taking that one for the team. Looked great. But, I mean, I don't give a shit about any of this, man. It's all hokey garbage. So I'm assuming Bray Wyatt is going to show up in the Royal Rumble. I don't know if he's going to be an active competitor, but he's going to eliminate Randy Orton in some way, shape, or form. If it's not Bray Wyatt, it's going to be Alexa Bliss. Maybe Bliss eliminates Orton, and Orton eliminates Bliss by some outside fuckery on Sunday night. I have no idea. Some additional Raw info before we get into the news. Vince McMahon was not at Raw. He was not at SmackDown. His brother passed away. WWE main event this week will be headlined by Elias and Jackson Riker and Jeff Hardy versus Ricochet. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Elias and Jackson Riker versus Jeff Hardy and Ricochet. And Edge's promo on Raw announcing his return was shot inside the ring he keeps on his property in North Carolina. Dana Brooke. Scary bump for Dana Brooke on Raw. She was in a chokehold by Nia Jax. She was not hurt and told several people she is 100% fine after the match. Major botch on Raw. Apparently, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler teamed with Lacey Evans to take on the team of Mandy Rose, Dana Brooke, and Charlotte Flair. Fans were left confused after all of this because Shayna Baszler got counted out. However, the match was resumed by Adam Pearce after the commercial break and ran on for another 10 minutes before Nia Jax pinned Dana Brooke. So we got Charlotte and Shayna Baszler. That match, one-on-one, ended in a DQ because Nia Jax came in and leg dropped Charlotte Flair. We got this 6-woman tag that ended first in a count-out because the referee was counting way too quick on Shayna Baszler. She didn't make the 10 count. Referees are told by Vince to call the match as a shoot if there's a botch. During the commercial break, Adam Pearce is out there. The baby faces are lobbying to get another match with the heels. They both want it. Adam Pearce makes it happen. 3 women's matches happened in the first half an hour of this show. 3 Charlotte Flair matches. This was an obvious botch. It was so botched, I didn't even think it was a real botch. I thought it was all planned. It seems like there's a reason for all of this chaos. Mike Johnson of PW Insider is reporting that Shayna Baszler wasn't actually supposed to get counted out early on in the match. Last night's 6-woman tag, he says, or Monday's 6-woman tag, featuring Charlotte Flair, Mandy Rose, and Dana Brooke versus Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, and Lacey Evans, had to be stopped and restarted after a commercial break as Baszler was legitimately counted out of the ring by the referee, leading Adam Pearce being sent out there to improvise and finish the match the way it was intended to be finished. What an awful, awful program. The women's division is fucking awful. It really is. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say on all that, man. Awful, awful stuff. But it was a botch. Peyton Royce. Peyton Royce talks WWE splitting up the Iconics. Now, she was interviewed this week, and she was asked about the split between her and Billie Kay. They split up last August after they lost to the Riot Squad. The match had a stipulation that the losing team would be forced to break up. So she was interviewed by Sportskeeda. And she says this, and I quote, I mean, it was right there in that moment we found out what the stipulation was that day. Maybe the day before. I don't have a very good memory. It was Billy and I. We were more than, a tag team. We're real friends in real life. We've grown up together. So for us, our whole dreams, our whole journey have been together through WWE. So for that, and it to be just torn apart, and like you said so abruptly, I feel like I'm still digesting it. I still feel I'm trying to find my footing without her. She also added that Billie Kay is thriving on SmackDown, and she's so happy for Billie Kay on SmackDown. Thriving and Billie Kay don't go in the same sentence. She is not thriving. She's actually one of the worst aspects of the show, number one. I would not call that thriving. Some geeks in the community would call that thriving because she has 5 minutes of TV time to do absolutely nothing with. She's an embarrassment. She's awful. She can't wrestle. She's not funny. But you split them up with the main purpose of being Peyton Royce getting pushed. And Billie Kay now is getting more TV time than Peyton Royce. Peyton Royce was supposed to be a tag team partner for Lacey Evans. Why'd you break them up? Only to pair her with somebody that has absolutely nothing to do with Peyton Royce. At all. Break her up to put her in another tag team. That makes zero sense whatsoever. And now Lacey Evans is going after Ric Flair. Trying to fuck Ric Flair. Legitimately. Where's Peyton Royce in all this? Peyton Royce got lost somewhere in between NXT and WWE. I don't know what happened. When Peyton Royce was in NXT, she had identity. When Peyton Royce was in NXT, she had her own unique look. Peyton Royce doesn't have any of that anymore. No theme music, no unique look, no opportunity to show us what she could really do in the ring. They stripped all of that away from her, and they've actually made her worse for it. Remember when she was in NXT wearing the Poison Ivy-looking inspired outfits? And she was doing her own thing? She was green as grass. Probably a little bit better now than she was then, but she's missing that whole must-see aspect. She looks like everybody else. I can't tell Peyton Royce from Dana Brooke. I can't tell Peyton Royce from anybody else on that roster. Mandy Rose. They all look the same to me. They all feel the same. You don't want a roster full of everybody that looks and feels the same. So if anybody says, oh, they're doing Peyton Royce better. No, they're not. In fact, she's a lot worse now than she was then. Because now she's in a bigger pond as a small fish with no identity. Good luck getting Bruce to fucking push you on that. Plus, her husband is Shawn Spears, who went to AEW. She could be secretly buried and kept off television and punished without actually them saying she's punished because of that reason alone. For every IG picture, for every Twitter picture, for every mention, for every tweet to the AEW account or Sean Spears, who's employed by AEW on his personal Twitter, WWE's racking up these lists of offenses. Why isn't she on TV? Maybe she should take a look at herself. WWE's petty. I would not be surprised that is an ulterior motive for WWE to go and bury this woman for absolutely no reason. And finally, guys, Charlotte Flair was interviewed by Alex McCarthy of Talk Sport. She says the women's division doesn't need Ronda Rousey. She may be right, but it needs something. Because nobody in this division outside Sasha is a major star, including Miss Flair. Charlotte Flair dims the light when she's on TV. Because the only light that she wants is on herself. When Sasha's in the ring, she wants the spotlight on all of the division. That's the way I see it. So Charlotte says that WWE and the women's division doesn't need Ronda. So she was asked about Rousey. She had a very short quote to provide about Ronda and her thoughts on the baddest woman on the planet. She says this, and I quote, "Can Ronda add to the division? Absolutely. But do we need Ronda? No. Did we need you in the main event of WrestleMania 35, Miss Flair? The answer is no. The only reason why you were there was because you wanted to share that spotlight with Ronda Rousey. Did the WWE need Ronda Rousey for WrestleMania 35? The answer is yes. Why? Because none of you are capable of building that division up the way it needed to be built up like Ronda. Ronda brings the intensity. Ronda brings the fan base. Ronda brings the name value and all that comes with it. And she loves professional wrestling. You mix that up in one big bowl and you present that to WWE. That's exactly what they needed. Ronda coming in was lightning in a bottle. She came in at the right time. They used her to get that division over in a year where the women were outshining the men in ring. Main eventing shows, outshining the men in main events. I'm not afraid to admit that. Asuka, Becky, Charlotte, Ronda, Sasha, they were all doing it. They were all doing it. It was great. And as soon as that WrestleMania main event happened, everything went downhill. WWE prepared for the future in the ways that they usually prepare for the future, going in blind, without any preparation whatsoever. So I'm going to go against Flair, as always, and say, does WWE need Ronda? Yeah. Because whatever they did with Ronda worked. Whatever they did without Ronda, they went back and made the division somehow worse than it ever was. Now they need Ronda to do it all over again. Maybe this time they'll be better prepared. But I find it funny how she says, we don't need Ronda. Then what exactly do you need? More of you? You may not need Ronda, but Ronda certainly needs to come back and fix whatever WWE fucking ruined again. And did we need Charlotte Flair in the main event of WrestleMania 35? The answer is no. She was just so selfish that she could not leave the spotlight to Becky and Ronda to finish that feud out. And I guarantee you, Charlotte lobbied to be in that match because a main event at WrestleMania, women's main event, may happen only once. Can't be without a Flair. Give me a break. Charlotte Flair is nauseating, and I will say it every single time. Guys, I'm getting out of here. Hopefully you enjoyed the podcast, man. I know we got Royal Rumble this weekend. It's going to be a big one. So if you are going to watch anybody and be with anybody this weekend, make sure you are with the Off the Script family. I really appreciate you guys being with me. Follow me on Twitter at JD from NY206. Twitter and Instagram. Also on TikTok as well. Also on Twitch. Make sure you guys follow me all across social media. Patreon.com/JD from NY206. Make sure you guys go and get your masks. Mouthmasker.com/OTS. Make sure you guys go and get your t-shirts. Bonfire.com. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Turn on that bell for all notifications. Go and check out all the other videos that you might have missed this past week. Links are down below in the description. Leave a comment, because a comment helps me out. Let me know what you guys think of all the top stories and my thoughts on the Royal Rumble. Who do you think's winning the Royal Rumble? Comment down below. Leave me your pick for the Royal Rumble down below. And make sure you guys go check out Dr. Squatch, drsquatch.com. Use code SCRIPT at checkout. Guys, I'm taking my cold beverage. I'm getting the Mustang. Windows are down. You know the deal, man. Pilot's coming on. Rock out, man. I'll see you guys on Sunday for the Rumble.